This illustration deals with the grounding electrode conductor connections in accordance with NEC 250.68C, as in car 3, A through C. The purpose of the change, revision was made and accepted. A revision, mainly it was made to clarify that the installation requirements were using a rebar type concrete encased electrode, the OU for ground, with additional rebar section extended from its location within the concrete foundation of the footing to an accessible location that is not not subject to corrosion. Now, kind of reviewing the illustration, the first thing I would kind of like to call out for you to remember is the supply side bonding jumper that you see, and this grounded conductor that you see here. If you look at the grounded conductor to the left, then that grounded neutral conductor has to be sized by 250.24C1 and 250.102C1 using the table. And then if it has neutral connected loads, you're going to size by 220.61 and use the larger of the two. And remember, 250.24 was rearranged so that we wouldn't mess up on this and size that conductor too small. And then it tells you the same thing to the right of the illustration, the system supply side bonding jumper. So you see them in the illustration where the supply side bonding jumper is bonding that metal conduit with the two lock nuts and metal bushing with a lug on it. They're bonding that raceway in. Why would they have to do that? Well, when you go to, not table, but go to 250.92B as in boy, then it says if those are two standard lock nuts that you see connecting to that conduit to that enclosure, and they're two standard, in other words, they do not have a screw in one of the lock nuts or a screw in the bushing, then you have to use a bonding jumper, supply side bonding jumper there. Or if you have punched out rings left, it's not a clean hole without punched out rings. So that's the reason for it. So that, not that you don't understand it, but we want to make sure that we are together on that. And then when you drop down and look at the grounding electrode at the bottom where it comes out from the grounded bar there down to the concrete encased electrode, it's a number 4 by 250.66C. Now, with that information, let's take a look now at the call out, addressing the concrete encased electrode, CEE, in the illustration. And you go to 250.52A3, and it describes how what could be used as a concrete encased electrode. Rebar, half-inch in diameter, 20 foot at least in length, are connected together to produce and create 20-foot length, or it could be a strip number 4 conductor used there in accordance with 250.52A3. Now let's wrap this thing up by looking at the notes. Note 1, additional rebar should be accessible and continuous and connected to the grounding electrode rebar as outlined in 250.68C3 little a. C as in car, 3 little a. And if we drop over to the left and take a look at note 2, then it talks about the rebar extension stubbed up shall not make contact with earth without corrosion protection. And that's to prevent corrosion and kind of create an isolation type connection. And that's in accordance with 250.68C as in car, 3 little b as in boy. Now, next, note 3 to the right, pointing to the concrete encased electrode. And this call out states, connected together with steel, tie wire, exothermic welding, other effective means. Now, other effective means, you know, that's up to the authority having jurisdiction in 90.4. But the outline of this rule, so that you know what you can use, is in 250.68, C as in car, 3, little a. Item 4, down at the bottom, pointing with the arrow to the concrete encased electrode. It says the concrete encased electrode should not be used to interconnect the grounding electrode system now per 250.68, C as in car, 3C. And the reason for that, it doesn't have to be accessible. You know, it has an exception in there and that says no. And 250.68 says it doesn't have to be accessible. And then when you look at the final note, number 5, it's right middle ways of the panel board. It says for a grounding electrode conductor is protected from physical damage by PVC system, it shall be used per 250.64 B2 and B3 and be at least Schedule 80. So what it's saying, that grounding electrode conductor you see on the panel board connected to the grounded bar in the panel, connected to that extension of the electrode system, if it's installed in PVC now, it can't be Schedule 40. It has to be Schedule 80 PVC. So make note of these changes so that you make these installations properly when you're grounding and bonding, and so that you won't have a problem with the authority having jurisdiction.